Don't we love it when the Australians lose and they've lost? Now they could go out of the World Cup. That's why this tournament has just started to get fun. My name's Avanish on this Sunday of the WhatsApp World Cup, joined in by Nikhil Popar and Pramod. Man, oh man, what did we see in Arno's Whale? Afghanistan handing Australia their ass on a platter. And boy, who saw it coming? I actually kind of woke up for the second innings and I saw it unfold. I don't know how much you guys watched of it, but we will talk about it. Everything from Travis Head and Marsh being found out in the power play by Naveen ul Haq, or for that matter, Pat Cummins. He could have taken 4 and 4, but he blames his friend David Warner for it. So he gets another hat trick, back-to-back hat tricks. Has anyone done that in the game that we love the most? We will tell you. And not to forget, the likes of Rashid, Nabi, and all the other boys who played a massive part. It was Maxwell 2.0. He did it in Wankhede. He couldn't do it in, of course, St. Vincent. How's that for an introduction, lads? Because I can't wait to talk to you about this game. And Noor, he dropped that catch in Wankhede. He wasn't dropping this one. It's crazy how life comes a full circle, Nikhil Popat. Let me start with you.
Very, very sweet morning. I haven't had a better, better jalebi papda on a Sunday than watching Afghanistan win against Australia. I mean, you saw that, the moment Maxwell walked in and how things just never looked like, oh, this. He didn't offer a chance. And the first one that he offered, Noor took it. After that, he had a horrible day with the running and, a couple of runouts that he missed. But for Afghanistan to outbowl Australia, I think it speaks volumes about how well they set this game up. With the bat, if you saw the very start of the game, it looked like, dude, what is this deck? Will they even get to 100? And for them to then have a great opening stand, and of course, you possibly see there's a collapse that always happens on such legs. For them to just keep themselves together and pull this off, so heartening for everybody involved, because Gulbadin said a great thing. He said, "At last we beat Australia." I mean, it's. See, a lot of us have grown up wanting to beat Australia, and for Afghanistan to do it like this after having come so close last year, just can't be more happy for them.
Absolutely. There are plenty of comments coming through. I'll get a Pramod right now. But just before I do, I encourage all of you all to like this video, man. Come on. Probably one of the games of the World Cup so far. I know USA, Pakistan still top of the tree, but Afghanistan beating Australia for the first time in 6 international games. Why can't we celebrate on this Sunday afternoon? Pramod, you and me, we joked yesterday in the WhatsApp World Cup show that, yeah, we want India to win, but we want Afghanistan to win. We got both our predictions right. But it's crazy, right? 2010, this nation came on the cricketing map. 14 years later, a decade and a half later, they're stamping the authority in how beating Australia in any tournament, in an ICC competition, is just history. And Rashid was full of it yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, obviously a terrific moment for Afghanistan, especially considering how close they got last year. And it looked like Maxwell is going to do it again against them. But yeah, credit to them. I think they've beaten New Zealand as well early in the tournament. Not to forget that. Now they've beaten Australia. I think probably I know they've got 4 wins, 4 or 5 wins in the 2023 World Cup, but I think this has to be one of their better achievements, I feel, in terms of World Cup. They won 4 T20 World Cup games in a single season for the first time, and 2 of them were New Zealand and Australia. So I think terrific achievement. And as you said, I think the growth over the last decade and a half has been truly phenomenal to watch. Every tournament they go in, every series they play in, I think they sort of show that much bit of improvement, and their hunger to beat the big teams has gone up a notch in the last couple of years, especially. And I'm glad that their effort is finally bearing fruit now.
You mentioned they've beaten New Zealand and Australia. Come to think of it, they've beaten pretty much everyone in the eastern part of the world, including PNG. So they've conquered Oceania from an Afghanistan point of view. And look, that's why it's fitting that I've worn this Afghanistan jersey, which I got during the 2023 World Cup. So bring it on. Brilliant. Nani Ko, good to see you. Sports fan, good to see you. And Abhinandan, you're testing and trying my Hindi reading on a Sunday morning. Ye sab IPL ka deen hai. Afghanistan team IPL mein kuch naya seekhna Indian team se jeetne ke liye. I mean, insane. My producer's proud of me nailing that in the first go. Look, we will talk about it in further depth right now. I know Nikhil and Pramod and me have just hit it on the nail in terms of what's happened earlier this morning, but we'll talk about it right now much more in our first segment called about last night. In fact, the best way to break down this game is not just showing you the summary scorecard, but we'll also show you a little cool written text that we, of course, have been doing throughout the World Cup. But here is, of course, a little memory refresh, to put it that way. And remember, Australia and Mitch Marsh did win the toss. I was surprised that he chose to bowl first, because all the results in Arno Vincent has seen the teams batting first win. That's 4 to the trot right now in this venue. So you could have been puzzled at the toss. There was one important change. No Mitchell Starc. Ashton Agar came in for the surface, and he didn't really feature in that scorecard we have. But it was Australia's fielding, which obviously won't feature on this card. Gurbaz, Zadran doing what they've done throughout the tournament. Another 100-run stand. Quite brilliant, to be fair. We'll show you some of the stats to that and the rest of the game. But Australia, in reply, it was only Glenn Maxwell, 59 to 41. At the moment, you thought it's going to be deja vu, but it wasn't to be, because of a certain Gulbadin Naib, 4 for 20. And that meant Afghanistan won by a telling 21 runs, right? The one particular chat that I wanted to, of course, have with you all is just going through the game chronologically, but we can do that slightly differently today on What's Up World Cup, because I was thinking of just featuring this, the 5 key highlights from Afghanistan's historic win over Australia. It's a written piece, how they put it out this morning. It's available on the app and, of course, the website. Now, we'll start chronologically because, look, another 100-plus stand for Gurbaz and Zadran. Nix, what did you make of it? Because you touched upon it. It looked like a slowish deck. And you never kind of see a T20 like this, right? Where the opening stand is 118 for none, and then you just muster less than 150 as a team. So can you just talk to me about the first part of that innings, please? Or the game, rather.
Yeah, I think firstly, we talked about the toss. Teams have won batting first because conditions have been tough. Again, it looked and it was supposed to be a better batting deck. But when the match began, the first over itself, Ashton Agar, when he got the ball to do what he did, it felt like, dude, this you don't need 180 here. 150, 160 would be great. But Gurbaz at one point of time was 10 of 16. Could hardly put back to ball. Josh Hazelwood, others is just bowling length outside of the ball, is punching back to Matthew Wade, and you're thinking, how will they get these runs? And that's where I felt they adapted brilliantly, because Gurbaz kept coming down the wicket and just lifted them off their lengths. He hit a couple of sixes, and then that just set the ball rolling for them. And you have to realize how this is the longest that Australia had to ever wait for the first wicket in a T20 international game. 13 odd overs, 14 odd overs, that is absolutely unheard of. And it was a very good rotation of strike as well. There were times when you wondered, कि भाई ये दोनों run out हो जाएंगे and I would take off again. But it did not happen, thankfully. And they were very smart in terms of, against Zampa also, they did not give him a lot of wickets. He took 2 in the last over, but that's okay. You are going to take those risks in the later half. So I think they calculated that very well, and they grew like step to step. Every over you could see something being tried. And after the 10-over mark, they were happy to start taking the risk. It did not always come off, which you can see from the strike rates. They are not that high. But for that deck, they got the job done. And eventually, when a side relies too much on a couple of the individuals, it is very important for them to set that platform. And I think both of these guys did that very well. I think they own the record of having the only batting pair to have 3 century stands in a world. That is mad. But it is so good to have something like this on your name.
No, absolutely. And that too, for any T20 international series and tournament, men or women. So good on Gurbaz and Zadran for becoming the first pair to do that. We mentioned earlier in a joke that they conquered Oceania that way. All those 100-run stands coming against New Zealand, Uganda, and Australia yesterday, Pramod. And we felt it yesterday as well, right? While kind of previewing this game, how critical Zadran and Gurbaz has been, albeit they bat at their own kind of pace, especially Zadran. But do you think it was a missed opportunity for Australia throughout that 118-run stand? A stumping, of course, gets the better of Wade at that point in time. A couple of tough drop chances. I think the ground fielding was in Australia-esque. So that kind of really helped this to flourish.
I think the impact Ashton Agar has had on this game, other than his none for 17, he's given away 2 dolly boundaries over there in the end. So that too has to go against his name. I know it won't, but But yeah, I think what Afghanistan did, the right thing that they did was they immediately realized that having Gurbaz and Zadran open is better than having Zazai who came in last game. They immediately canned that plan right away, which was perfect way to start. I mean, why would you do that when Gurbaz and Zadran have put on 100 twice already in this tournament? So yeah, but for Australia, yeah, as you mentioned, this was not your typical ruthless Australian side that we've seen over the years in terms of their bowling, or even to a larger extent their fielding. Even David Warner dropped a dolly in the end which would have given Pat Cummins 4 and 4. So it was an off day, but I think where Afghanistan had that 10% of advantage was when they were asked to bat first. They've seen the games before here, and they know how difficult it is going to be chasing. And the partnership, although the opening partnership, although it wasn't all guns blazing, they knew about 130, 140 was fine, so they set the platform for that. And eventually, I think they got about 10, 15 runs, I think, above par. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think Australian bowling point of view, I don't think they took the pace off as much as they would have liked to. I don't know. And yeah, I think the first ball that Hazelwood bowled, I think there was a movement of the pitch, I think, right away. So I think that at that point they decided, okay, this is the way to go. And as a result, probably they didn't see the need of using much variations at the start or probably in the middle. And getting Agar in place of Stark seems like a good move on this pitch. But I would have still hung on to Stark, given that the early swing that he produces. I will take 2 for 20 in the first 2 overs from Stark on this track, rather than none for 17 and 4 from Agar. So, or even Ellis for that matter, with his change-ups would have been much more handier, I felt, than having Zampa. But yeah, Agar of course gives you that bit of batting, which I mean was not in display today. But yeah, I think either hanging on to Stark or getting in Ellis, I felt would have been a much better ploy here.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it's of course easy to make those changing calls, but let's see how it goes for Australia forward, because they play India on Monday and they have to win that, because Afghanistan, if they beat Bangladesh, it'll be India and Afghanistan and not Australia, and that'll be a big shock, which will send ripples throughout the cricketing world. Who would have thought that Gulbadin Naib was the eighth bowler, and he'll be the game changer? 4 for 20. Let's just quickly depict that for you in terms of what he did in those 4 overs, because 4 wickets, crucial wickets, of course, and 13 dots, which really added the pressure. It was introduced into the attack, I think, the 11th over, and it really turned the game on the head, because at that point in time, Maxwell was seemingly running away from it, but it was absolutely brilliant from this man. And we'll show you more in that little depiction, which we, of course, were showing you earlier, the article I'm talking about right now, because at the end of the day, there were lots of things going on in that particular game, and we'll quickly go through it before we, of course, show you more. Now, hat-trick Cummins, we saw that the previous game. We're seeing it today as well. Quite brilliant for Pat Cummins to get his name in back-to-back games of the World Cup, against Bangladesh first and then against Afghanistan. Only Wasim Akram in national cricket in tests have done that in 1999. And then I think it was way back in 1912 an Australian great did that as well. So that was another talking point. The other one was Naveen striking twice in the power play, because you could have gone for Fazilak Farooqi, but Rashid stuck to it, and he produced a gem to get rid of, who was it? Travis Head, and then, of course, a slow ball to get Marshall. The main talking point, everyone look at it in the highlights package and the scorecard, Maxwell, because he was really smoky it, and he looked literally like he carried off from that Wankhede game in the ODI World Cup against the Afghans, but it wasn't to be, and we called it in the watch-along. We wanted to see a similar game with the result to sway in the favor of Afghanistan, and we got it. And finally, Gulbadin Naib, like we spoke about earlier, we'll speak about it a little bit more with Nix, because he is definitely a big fan of this man. And second best figures against Australia in an ICC T20 World Cup. Of course, still Ravi Ashwin, top of the pops there, for what he did against the Aussies in Meadpur 10 years ago. But Gulbadin Naib, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And why not? Why can't we celebrate him? Next, just more about Gulbadin and Afghanistan before we talk about what's trending and really wrap up, essentially. What can they do? I mean, it'll be incredible if they make the semi-finals, but it'll also be pretty sad after having Australia as a scalp, but then not really beating Bangladesh. That'll be just, I don't know. a grey season.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect them to just be at their best. I think the venues are same. So they know these conditions better now than anybody else. And God bless you, Pramod. You saw how Bangladesh batted against India, and Afghanistan also have a, I wouldn't say equally potent, they have a very variety filled bowling attack. I mean, today you did not even have Noor bowling all his four. Nabi only bowled 1 overs. Nabi can bowl 18 overs against Bangladesh. So many left-handers that Bangladesh have. So they have everything that should help them win that last game. I think the bigger chance for them was today. And now that they have done this, I see no reason for them to not believing or trusting them that they can't beat Bangladesh. So that should be a game that they should try and win. Again, not too worried about how much they win by, because that's not always in your hand in terms of how big a margin you win. And when conditions are tough like this, you can't chase very easily, and you can't say, oh, I'll defend 120 and get them all out for 15, 20 runs. वो नहीं होने वाला. So all I expect from them is a good professional show, like it was today, a good team effort. And that is something I think that stands out really well from this win. That everybody chipped in. Ibrahim and Gurbaz chipped in. They got 2 runs thanks to equal hits from Nabi also at the back end, and then with the ball, Naveen with a new ball. I don't know how many of us actually saw it coming that, okay, in the 2023 World Cup, he did get them out, earlier, and Omarzai also started early. But for Naveen to come in and take out head, that I think just set the tone. And then for the president to just bowl 1 over and just take David. And he's like, dude, I'll take care of the bigger wicket is Warner. I'll come in and I'll just take him out. So that is as good as it can be in terms of team effort. And Gulbadin Naib, bro, proper out of syllabus guy. The way he was bowling in the 11th or the ball was moving like this, and like, oh wow, this is cinema. We are seated. So I can't imagine anybody after 5-10 years opening the scorecard like Australia. Okay, they must have lost to spin. Gulbadin Naib, 420. It is going to be hilarious, but it is as good, and it is just so good for the Popeye man. See, they had Karim Jainal also who could bowl. So it's not that they are left off on options, but just on that day, for Rashid to not go to Noor and just stick to, bring on Gulbadin Naib. Hats off to him. Bravo and Trot, all and everybody involved in that setup, because it doesn't take just small things to beat Australia. Not hyping Australia more, but yeah, you need a lot more than that.
No, make no mistake, it was a terrific performance from Afghanistan, and I like them the best in the field, to be fair. I know the wickets came at regular intervals, but they caught well, they showed their energy, and it was just a vibe about this Afghanistan team. I know I got the privilege to dance with Afghanistan fans when they beat Pakistan in Chennai. Man, they would have been buzzing in St. Vincent last night. More comments to take, and of course just tell you about the scenarios going forward, because that is very interesting. We'll shed light on it right now. We'll just quickly take some comments. Vaibhav Gupta saying it took them a year, but they finally defeated Australia's and buried the whole Maxwell freak innings from 2023. NYX Times Square going on to say, should Indians be really happy about the Afghani win? Australia winning against India may knock India out too. Essentially, we'll show you the scenario rankings, but happy for Afghanistan. It's always the underdog or India for me. I don't know about you guys. What are the chances of Afghanistan to qualify for semis? We will show that right now. And everyone asking about the scenario. So let's get straight into it right now, because I'll tell you both, right? But the first scenario is, let's hypothetically imagine if Australia and Afghanistan win. Now, that means 3 teams will finish in 4 points. And if Australia hypothetically win by a run, Pramod, Afghanistan apparently will need a 36-run margin against Bangladesh to move ahead of Australia on net run rate. If Australia win a run chase of the last ball, Afghanistan will have to win their game in 15.4 overs or sooner, assuming the first inning score of 160. So just bear with me. If you guys want the scenarios, I'm telling you this right now. India, on the other hand, are sitting pretty, remember, in terms of what they've achieved so far. 2 wins with a net run rate of a positive 2.425. And for them to get knocked up, both Australia and Afghanistan will have to win by big margins. How big? Australia will have to beat India first by 41 runs and then go past them in run rate. And then Afghanistan will have to beat Bangladesh by 83 runs. It's still possible that India could go out. So, the point that NY Square Times Square was making, it's possible. But on the contrary, if India and Bangladesh win, India will, of course, go through. And Bangladesh will have to win by 31 runs to go ahead of Afghanistan. And then, of course, they need Australia to lose by 55 runs. So there's a lot of great permutations and combinations. If India and Afghanistan win, of course, India and Afghanistan will qualify for the semis. And if Australia and Bangladesh win, India and Australia will qualify for the semis. So there's lots to get our head around. And I hope I've explained it as much as I can. And yup, I'm an Aussie fan saying Ajay Chavla. Marsh, Tim needs to go away. Who will start favourites in a high-scoring menu like St. Lucia, Australia? Again, it was a reality check. Their longest streak in a World Cup been shattered by the Afghanis. Final sort of thoughts before we just kind of quickly look ahead to today's games and shed light in that. How do you see it unfold? Because I've just given you all the scenarios. It could go either way, and it's realistic. It's not crazy. It's not 120-run wins or 95-run wins or 10-wicket wins in 8.4 overs chasing 150 and all of that bullshit. It's not there. So can, on the given day, the best teams go through from this thing? I think it's India, and I hope it's Afghanistan. Nix, are you with me?
100%. My answer is the same, no difference.
But do you think they can actually beat Bangladesh and comfortably? Or do you think maybe Bangladesh would love to play party poopers here, wouldn't they?
They would want to, but again, the catch is the batting. Bangladesh's batting hasn't come good. And if Afghanistan don't beat them by a margin, then it's only themselves that they can blame. They can't blame anybody else. So they have the bowling, and the both scenarios that you mentioned, winning by 30 odd runs, that is possible. Even on this deck, it is possible they beat Australia by okay margin only. And if you were to chase in 15.4, I think that suits Bangladesh even more. If they keep them to a score, they have enough people and they can promote them at the right time to just, we saw what calculations Trot had, right, in that game against, in the game in the World Cup. So all the maths can work out. But firstly, India close the game out. Shanti say, no, we do not want any last-minute calculators like other teams. Chupchap jeet ke jao. And then, of course, get up and watch Afghanistan play Bangladesh. And then just enjoy. It is very rare that you get that chance.
Yeah, and everyone agreeing with you and us in the comments with regards to how it really should peter out. And Sanjay Papigiri saying, hello, boys. What a moment it'll be if Afghanistan make it and Australia gets eliminated. At least we'll be able to avenge the November 19th to some extent. And it just really makes you think. Let's close up Afghanistan, Australia in the chat because they are certainly trending. And why wouldn't they be? Let's take a look at that next. Oops, sorry. I played the fucking graphic before. Everywhere it'll be hashtag Afghanistan, and why shouldn't it be? Because those boys are doing something really, really special in the Caribbean. Like Pramod mentioned at the top of the show, they've not got more wins in a T20 World Cup than they have this year. So look, this is what we feel. The certain memes we just saw caught eye. There's plenty more. There are plenty more tweets from everyone, every nook and corner of the cricketing world. But look at this, Afghanistan, Australia, and we all remember last time. And it was that Maxwell. I mean, that was a meme, as you can see. I think Sacred Games 2, this is. Not sure. I think it is in terms of a movie reference. And then, of course, history created by Afghanistan and St. Lucia. They took the revenge from Australia. What a win for the boys. And Gulbadin Naib, I mean, flexing muscle, all right. Speaking of flexing muscle, I think that was a headline coined by one of our writers. What was it? Was there already an article? Or was it just a simple article? Yeah, it was just a simple article that we showed you earlier. Right, so that was what's trending. But this, again, another great segment left in the WhatsApp World Cup today on a Sunday. And that is, of course, looking ahead to the other group of Super 8s. Let's talk about it then. Remember, we told you yesterday that South Africa can go out of the tournament after winning 6 in the trot. And today, Australia can go out of the tournament if they lose to India. So it is, of course, a tricky little part of the tournament, this, for even the main teams to get themselves out of. What are we kind of looking at today in terms of clashes on a Sunday? Well, here we go. USA, England, the age-old rivalry in terms of, potentially these two could have ruled India. It was the English, but the US, they would have loved it, essentially. Can they get the English scalp? Only time will tell. That comes from Barbados at 8 p.m. And then, of course, the West Indies, as usual, throughout this tournament, they always play at their night, which means it's a 6 a.m. start IST against South Africa. And as simply put, I should say, if the US, of course, lose to England and West Indies beat South Africa, it'll be England and South Africa. I mean, England, West Indies, beg your pardon, who will go through. Right, what's going to happen? Really quickly then, USA, England, Pramod, I'll start with you. Can Adam Jones and company topple the mighty English?
Yeah, of course. This unfortunately for US, I think this match the match against England comes at a very wrong time for them. Had it come probably right after the Scotland game or something like that, on those lines, I would have said US have a good chance, because I think England were like really not they were a lot were quite rusty in the first two games. But unfortunately, I think they've hit the right stride at the right time in the tournament. Yeah, they lost to South Africa in the last game, but then I think with US, I think they will sort of get past the. And it wasn't a massive loss as well, so that sort of works in their favor. As Butler mentioned, the only silver lining from that loss is probably the fact that they just lost by like 6 or 7 runs. So I think they should be back. See that as a small blip, and just go all guns blazing against the US in this game. And at the same time, the advantage for West Indies as well going into. Because they play after this game, they know exactly what to do or exactly by how much they can afford to lose in their game against South Africa. So yeah, very interesting 2 games coming up.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in this case that the West Indies and South Africa will qualify for 4 points if the USA and the West Indies win, because USA's net run rate's kind of poor. But if England and South Africa win, it is, of course, straightforward. South Africa and England will go through. Next, what's your gut feel tonight? We all love to see it, another upset, because the World Cup just keeps giving. But in all likelihood, do you think it's going to be England and West Indies to make it? And as tough and painful as it will be for the Proteas, that's just how the game is.
Yeah, it would be harsh, but I just read a Harry Brook quote which said they are hoping to give USA a good battering. So that has suddenly motivated me even more now. Okay, I don't mind a washout. Please have a washout, no problem. Otherwise, Saurabh Saab, just another last favor. It's like an Instagram meme, that please, sir, one more favor, one last time. Saurabh sir, 3 early wickets, and then if they win from there, good luck. But as Pramod said, not quite the right time in terms of the game for US, but no better time also to just go out on high. You started the tournament on a high with that game against Canada, and Jones is going to play his teammates today in Jofra. So good childhood friends coming back at a good venue. Not expecting a win, but I'm expecting a close contest. And if they get into a situation where they can win, then nothing like it. So hopefully US can do what Afghanistan did today. Very difficult, but we are always suckers for the underdogs.
We are, man. We are. It'll be absolutely brilliant. And Introspect points out that the British Paps will absolutely go mad against their team. What has happened in the US captain Manang Patel? Has he recovered, Pramod?
There's no news on Manang Patel yet, but there were reports that he could be ruled out of the tournament. So in all likeliness, we will see sort of Aaron Jones leading them in their last game. Another interesting comment was there is a rain prediction in Barbados for the England-USA game. So that could be a very tricky sort of game for them. I think as tricky as the one that they had against Namibia probably. So I think if it's a shortened game, probably you give US a shout here, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, no wonder it's been coined English weather every time it bloody rains. So look, England need to kind of have their own sort of clouds taken care of, but it'll be really sad if they actually go out that way. If rain, of course, curtails their game against the USA and then West Indies, South Africa, whatever happens. But it'll be fascinating. We'll be here, of course, bringing it to you all tomorrow, this time reviewing both those games and then previewing the India-Australia game, and not to forget the Afghanistan-Bangladesh game, how the World Cup has kind of changed in a great way. Nikhil, Pramod, thank you so much. It's a curtailed What's Up World Cup today. I was trying to aim for under half an hour, and I think I've got that spot on. We appreciate all you guys joining us right now. Go enjoy a fantastic Sunday lunch. Maybe get an Afghani kebab or two, because why not? They definitely deserve it.
Not Nikhil, obviously.
Not Nikhil, of course. Remember, before we head out, a kind reminder to join Akshay and the girls for the India-South Africa third ODI preview at 1:30, and they'll be doing the review as well. And join us for the watch along tomorrow. There's plenty of other shorter content available right now. Go check that out on our YouTube playlist. Until the next time, it's a goodbye from Nikhil, Pramod, and me in an Afghanistan jersey I love to wear. Cheers.